All right. Good morning, friends. It is good to see you all and see some of you again today. This is Increasing Inclusivity with Cami. Now, if you didn't already notice in the chat, you should see a pinned link. I'm going to drop it into the chat one more time. It has your sign-in link from the district as well as the link to our agenda and our activities today. So as we're kind of getting started here, please make sure you take a second to go fill that out. If you had the first link earlier and you accidentally filled out the 11:15 session, I don't know if you'll need to do this one again, so maybe do it again just to make sure. Just make sure you're covered. And apologies again for having the wrong link in there to start with. All right. My name is Margie Tyner, and I am one of the teaching and learning coordinators here at Cami. I am so stoked to talk to you guys today about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is how to make your learning more inclusive and more accessible for more students. Now, just a quick housekeeping pulse check. When it comes to Cami, where are you in your level of Cami knowledge and experience? On a scale of 1 to 5, let me know in the chat. Are you brand new to Cami? If it's your very first time even signing into Cami, that's a 1. If you have maybe dabbled around with it or even used it occasionally yourself, you might be a 2 or a 3. If you've used it in the classroom before or you use it frequently, that's a 4. And if you use it all the time yourself with students, you're madly in love with Cami, that's a 5. All right, thank you for all the folks chiming in the chat. All right, so it looks like we've got kind of a middle mix of folks and maybe a few who are on the newer side, so no worries. All right, for those of you who are brand new, anybody that was a 1, when you first click on the Cami document link that brings you to our agenda, when you're done, it's going to look like this. But when you first click on it, if it is your very first time ever signing into Cami, it's going to ask you a couple of basic setup questions to create your profile. Things like, are you a teacher or a student? Are you using it at home at school? What's your learning management system? You want to pick Google Classroom. Once you've done that, I think there's one other step where you tell it which school you're in. And other than that, you're good to go. Once you've done that the first time, the next time you access a Cami document or log in, you won't get asked again because your profile is all set up and ready to roll. All right, so I've got kind of a good idea of where you all are, so thank you for that. So now, before we dive into Cami, a quick story. If you are like me, you might have first heard of Cami during the pandemic. When we all went home, when things were shut down, when I was teaching from home from my dining room table and grasping at straws, trying to figure out how I was going to get material that I had with me in front of my students, that's when I personally first heard of Cami. Now, fun fact, Cami is actually a 13-year-old ed tech tool, but I just heard of it myself a few years ago. At the time, I was teaching middle school math and science, and I thought to myself, what's this thing my friends are all talking about? Because usually I'm the techie one telling all my friends about all the cool tools they can use with students. But this was one that was not on my radar. And someone said to me, Margie, you've got to check out this PDF annotation tool. It is a lifesaver. And for many folks it was, because we needed a way to get documents from home in front of students so that they could see them. So sharing through this platform blew up. I, however, never jumped on that bandwagon because I had a document camera and I thought to myself, what do I need a digital pen and paper for? I can do all that with my document camera. If I could go back in time, this is where I would kick myself, because if you heard my story and listened closely, I just said I had the tools that I needed. Nowhere in there for a second did I stop and slow down to consider, did my students have the tools that they needed? And that is important. So don't be like I was a few years ago. Now, if you haven't heard, Cami does way more than PDFs. Cami started out as a PDF annotation tool, but it actually works with all sorts of files now. It's an all-in-one platform, so you can bring anything that you're already teaching with into this program and use it with students. not just PDFs. Things like slides, docs, sheets, GIFs, all sorts of things. You could even start with a blank page and have a digital whiteboarding situation in seconds. It really is a game changer, and it's an all-in-one tool. And if you're like me and you thought annotation just meant things that you're writing or highlighting, it doesn't. Annotation in coding language means anything you're adding to the page, whether that's those handwritten annotations or embedding a YouTube video or adding videos, voice comments, all sorts of things. So know that this is a really, really useful platform that does a lot, and a lot more than we'll ever cover in just 1 hour. But today I'm going to do my best to walk you through some of the most important things to help you reach all the learners in your classroom. So with that being said, let's dive in and talk about how you can make things in your classroom more accessible and more inclusive for all of your learners. Now let's take a second. Let me know in the chat, what do you teach? All right. Ooh, we got a wide variety of folks. I see ELA, I see middle grades, I see high school grades, US history, hospitality. Ooh, that's fun. Physics, multiple subjects. All right, so we got a wide range in here and a wide range of grade levels, right? Know that the great thing about Cami is it works with all your students, no matter how young or old, no matter what their ability level, no matter what subject you're trying to teach with them. It works for everything. So I'm going to try to show a variety of activities as we go through this. But if you have specific questions or ideas that you want to share, please do not hesitate to unmute and share or type them in the chat. I'll be kind of listening and watching both as we go. All right, so some quick housekeeping, because I want to make sure I've got you set up for success before we dive in. Cami is a web-based platform, which means it works anywhere you've got an internet connection on any device. As we're going through things today, I'm going to be talking about the Cami extension, and this is a button that you and your students absolutely need to have on your computer, because without it, you won't be able to use all of the tools and features I'm going to show you today. So quick housekeeping check. So when we go to play around with this, you know you've got it. The Cami extension should already be installed if you're on your school device. It should be, if you look up at the top of the web browser, all the way to the right side of the screen, you may or may not have a bunch of icons here. Icons live here if you pin them there or if your district has something pinned, but you'll all have the puzzle piece. The puzzle piece brings up a drop-down list of all the extensions that are installed on your device, and you should see Cami for Google Chrome in that list. Now, if you'd like to see the little icon and have that extension live on your toolbar, just click the push pin to pin it there so you see it all the time. And if for any reason you're on a device that does not have that, then it's a quick trip over to the the Google Chrome web store or the Microsoft Edge store to grab the extension for free. Now, there is one exception to that, iPads. If you or your students are ever on an iPad, iPads don't do extensions. So that's the one caveat. Now, housekeeping, check. If anybody needs the direct link, please let me know. Once you've got that, you're good to go. That link is your one-stop quick shop to get Cami anywhere you are. You can click there to get to the Cami dashboard. You can also just go to the website and log in. You're going to have a button inside all things googly, docs, sheets, slides. It looks like this, and it's very close to where you can find, say, the button for the revision history. It's the Open with Cami button, and that lets you bring your resources from whatever platform you're in right into Cami as a flattened PDF. It's like going to a digital copy machine. That way, whatever you've designed in whatever program you're in stays exactly where you've put it on the page, and it's free for your kids to just interact with. It's also in places like Canva for Education, Teachers Pay Teachers, Padlet. It's all over the place. So know that as long as you've got the extension, you're good to go. Now, the fun stuff. We're going to dive in and get hands-on today because the best way to learn Kami is to explore and experience the features yourself. So in the chat, I am going to grab this link and drop it into the chat for you, but it's also here on screen. Now, fun fact, this is called a Kami share link. And a Kami share link is something you get by pushing this big purple share button when you're the owner of a document. That is how you can grab a quick link so that you can get your students into a collaborative activity or give them an individual copy if that's what you're going for. The best way to share Kami with students is actually to use it right through your learning management system inside of Google Classroom. But since you and I aren't in a Google Class together, I'm giving you the share link today. Now, when you open that share link up, it's going to bring you right here. This first page is your one-stop shop for all of the things I'm going to be talking about with you today, as well as lots of other handy resources. Now, quick note about this. Let me zoom out so we can actually see the margin over here. The sign-in link, I had to stick a text box on top of it because I put in the wrong one originally. So you can either get to it here or in the comment pinned on the side. They go to the same thing after I replaced it. But pro tip, you want to make sure you are on the select tool when you're trying to click on a hyperlink. If you're on any of the other tools and you click on the screen, the tool's going to activate and you won't actually be able to get to that link. Now, let's dive into the fun stuff. We're going to collaborate. You've got a couple of different options for how you get here. But before you do, let's talk about a customizable feature so we can already get a little accessibility going. Now, you might have noticed I was zooming in and out a second ago. And when you open this, it probably opened for you guys on about 100% because that's the default setting. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, my OCD kind of kicks in here because seeing two pages at once both annoys and distracts my brain because I'm neurodiverse and this bothers me. Maybe you're also like me and you like everything to be a little bit bigger. Know that you can customize the view on this screen and it's only going to affect the view for you. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to go to this document and play. And when you'd like to customize your view, it's down here in the bottom right corner. You can click on the number to get lots of handy options, or just click the plus sign and zoom in or out as you like until it looks good to you. Now to get to page 2, where we're going to dive in and get hands-on, you can either click on the hyperlink where it says let's collaborate, press the right arrow key on your keyboard when you're looking at your document to go to the next page, or just scroll on down. So here's what I'd like you to do. When you go to your screen where you're going to see this activity, I'd like to know when you hear the word accessibility, we're talking all about inclusion today. So when you hear that word, what comes to your mind? Now, there's no wrong answers for this. This is from your perspective. Just what do you think of off the top of your head? So don't overthink it. Use any of the Kami tools that you have available and let me know. What do you think when you hear accessibility? Ooh, this is pretty good. You guys are having some great ideas. Now, if you need more space, Please know there are 2 pages for the same question. So you've got space on page 2 or page 3 if you'd like. And I'm seeing kind of a lot of the same idea echoed again and again here, right? Something convenient for everybody, where all students can contribute. Every single student can access and comprehend that grade level content. Giving accommodations for students with disabilities. Getting all, I see all repeated over and over. You can access the document from home and in school, on your Chromebook, on your phone. These are great. Now, I see everybody's stuck to one tool. Everybody's using just the text box. I didn't see anybody that tried to do some handwriting. And I'm kind of wondering why. Now, for me, I also like to use the comment tool. So maybe I'm going to grab the text comment and I'll stick mine over here. I'm going to do some voice typing. These are fabulous ideas. Everyone is kind of reaching the same conclusions, that we need to reach all the students in all the places they are with all of their needs. Now, did anybody else try out voice typing? Maybe you used it in the text box. Now, this is kind of a trick question. If you guys were with me yesterday or earlier, earlier yesterday, because I did this in my very first session that I taught, you might have already seen my trick about feature control. If you haven't, you're in for a treat. Now, this is that same link I gave you, just I opened it in a different account. This is my student. So this is exactly what you saw on your screen. You've got the select tool, the text box, or drawing. Now, right away, did that feel very accessible? Probably not. Because if you use the drawing tool, like I just did over here, what happens if you wanted to erase it? Well, I didn't give you an eraser. What happens if you needed to speak? Like I used voice typing. You guys don't even have that option because I didn't give you the comment tool at all. And when you drop the text box, the microphone's missing. This is a really good example to help kind of get you thinking about accessibility. It's making sure that you, as learners, have the right tools that you need in your hands to be successful. So for some of you, typing in the text box might not have been a big deal. Totally fine. Most learners don't have a problem with that. But for some of you, it might have been a struggle. Or maybe it wasn't a struggle, but it sure would have been easier or nicer or faster if you had insert any of those tools I just named that I had access to, but you did not. Now, here's the powerful thing about Kami. When you are using documents in Kami, when you assign them to your students or share them out in a collaborative setting like this, you have the option to totally customize the tools that the students have access to. So when you need to provide tools that make things more inclusive and better learning experiences for all your students, you can do that. And if there are certain things you need to take away at certain times, you can do that too, because you can change the toolbars on the student's experience anytime you need to. Here's how you do that. First, let me flip back over to my teacher's account. And here's how I did it. Before I shared this document with you, I clicked that big purple share button. I've changed it to anyone with the link as an editor because we're all collaborating together. Now, again, if we were in a Google Classroom together, this is something I would have done when I assigned it out. There's a button called Feature Control. And Feature Control is how I decide which tools you as learners get access to. You can turn off whole tools, parts of tools. So maybe we needed some translation. I could turn that on. Maybe I also needed to read aloud, but I don't want you to have the option to change either the pitch or the speed. I can give you read aloud, but turn those extra options off. You get the idea? So turn on or off exactly what tools your students need to be successful. Underneath that, you also have access to turn on or off support features. So things like the ability to use the voice typing. spell checking, adding closed captions. You can even turn on or off students' ability to copy and paste. Once you have everything set the way you like, if these are options you want to have every time you go share Kami, you just click Remember Options, because Kami remembers the last setting you used with a tool. If this is a custom situation you're just changing right now, just leave the box unchecked and then click OK. Now, before I even get back over there, you might have already noticed your toolbar just updates in real time. You didn't have to do anything. You don't have to reload. You didn't have to refresh. You didn't have to close the assignment and open it again. It just happens. And now that you've got some more of those tools, let's talk a little bit more about accessibility. Now, page 3, again, just extra space for that same question. Yes, getting everyone connected. I love that, connection. Head on down to page 4, because now we've got a game to play. Do you remember these from when you were a kid? It's kind of like I Spy. What do you notice? Here's a picture of a classroom. And imagine this is any typical classroom you might be in. See if you can spot the learners with accommodations. And tell me what you notice. Now, you can use anything you like for this. You can add a comment. You could draw on it. You could use the shapes and circle, add a text box. Knock yourselves out. Try any of the tools you like. But you've only got the next 90 seconds. So head on over to page number 4. And this one is the only page with that image, so it might get a little crazy because we're all squishing together. But head on over to page 4 and tell me, what do you notice? And to help keep us all on track, I am going to grab a timer and I will pop that right up here. All right, you got 90 seconds to let me know what you find. All right, if you're stuck, I'm going to give you some hints. Does this remind you of any of your classrooms? Does this look kind of like things you've seen before? Now let's set the scene a little. Maybe this will help. These kids are taking an assessment. Yes, okay, I see digital and I see print. That's an accommodation you can give kids, right? Because if you bring things into the digital environment, there are lots of other things you can do. All right, now, it wouldn't be a look and find if you didn't have an answer key. So did you notice? Oh, some of you put them down here. There you go. A teacher working one-on-one, students that might be hard of hearing, teachers teaching engaged with the students. Yes. Now, fun fact, in Kami, the only annotations you can change are your own. So you couldn't remove my box where I covered up the answers. But since I made that annotation, and also since I'm the teacher, I can delete anything on the page. So let's delete that and see what you found. Did you notice? Now, it's okay that you wrote them here. That's no problem. If you'd like to move them down, please feel free. But I'm going to tell you what's here anyway. There's a student using a device for translation. There's a color overlay to help a student with dyslexia as she's looking down at the paper. There is a physical human actually reading aloud and working with a student. There's another student back here using some things for translation. There are lots of accommodations going on here in this picture. And that's fantastic if you found them. If you didn't notice, that's okay, because I didn't really give you any context as to what was going on with this picture. But think about how many students you have to work with on a daily basis and the wide variety of needs in the classroom at any one time. Here's some statistics about just the US in general. Did you know 1 in every 5 students has a learning or attention difficulty? Well, of course you did, because you guys are teachers. This is our life. There's about 7 million students that get special education services in the United States right now. And out of all those kids, English is not a native language for about 5 million of them. That's a lot of learner accommodations and variability that we as teachers have to address on a daily basis. And sometimes that can be really difficult depending on the students that you've got for the year and what their needs are. And sometimes those needs, even as the kid comes in September, have changed by October. So think about all those things and think about accessibility. And as we're going through today, I want you to just experiment with some of the tools. I've got a graphic organizer on page 7 or 8. Please feel free to add to it or try things out as we go. And then on page 9, there's a reflective activity that we'll get to in a bit. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do with Kami. First, you've got options. Every single person using Kami, whether you are a teacher or a student, can customize their user settings. I'm going to show you where this is. This is something that you do per user, so per device, so that things are easier for you. In the top right of any Kami document or the dashboard, you'll see an icon with your initials. When you click on that icon, there's a button in this menu that says Settings. And in the settings, you've got lots of adjustable things you can do. First, when you open it, it'll tell you some basic info about your account, but you want to navigate to, let's start with App Settings. Under App Settings, if you are a non-native English speaker, whether this is you or your student, you have the ability to use this drop-down and change the menu of Kami itself into a different language. So if you need things on the toolbar or the menu bar, anything like that translated, you can do that. If you need to speak in a different language, Kami supports voice typing in over 30 different languages. There's a drop-down menu that has all sorts of languages you can pick from. All you have to do is change the drop-down. You can also customize the YouTube player language because there's many lingual supports here as well. Now, there's other things here too, but we're going to stick to just the accessibility stuff. So if you've never explored in here, feel free to look around at some point. Under accessibility, there's some good stuff here too. Start with app text style. Kami's font families, when you use the text box, there are something like 25 or 30 different fonts in there that you can pick from. But there are at least 7 in there that are more friendly for folks with dyslexia. So we've taken some of our favorites and added them in to the app text style menu here. This means I can pick any one of these things, and I'm going to go ahead and pick Lexend because it's my favorite. And when I reload, so that setting takes effect, anything that is written in Kami is going to change into this font. Now, these are fonts that are researched back to help folks with dyslexia have an easier time reading what's on the page. So anything on my toolbar, anything in my menus, anything that's been left as a comment on the side of the page, the font changes for all of those when you change that setting. And again, these are individual settings. So doing that will affect your screen, your view, but no one else's. Now you can also invert document colors. This is for those folks that need the really high color contrast on the document itself. So that does this. It changes your actual document into dark mode and gives that high color contrast for visibility. Now there's also a dark mode in Cami. That's right on your menu. When you click your initials under theme, you can have it set so that it goes automatically with whatever your device is doing, or you can have it in light or dark mode. And this changes the actual Cami experience itself. So the toolbar, the menu bar, but what it wouldn't change is your document. To change the document as well, that's the inverting those settings. All right, now I'm going to put this one right on back. But before I leave this screen and reset it, there's one more thing you can do here. Cami also has built-in screen masking, and screen masking can be customized as well. So I'm kind of feeling this sage green, and I really want it to be kind of laser focused. You can make it bigger or smaller. And I don't want it to be transparent at all. You customize the settings, and then on your screen, when you go to use that tool, that's the way it will be set. Now, screen masking is on the menu bar up here under the eyeball, that's view, all the way at, well, almost all the way at the bottom. When you click on screen masking, it will be set with whatever settings you just put on, if you've changed it. And to exit screen masking, you can either click that setting again from the menu or simply hit the escape key on your keyboard. So you've got some built-in customizable settings that any user can change to suit their needs. Now, in terms of tools and features, there's a ton. You can support students with all sorts of accessibility tools, which again, you can turn on or off given the needs of your students in your classroom and what you're doing for the day. You can provide those supports while they're learning. You can add them to scaffolds as they're learning. You can put it on the documents before they've even opened them. You can even see it all on one screen so that you can pivot your instruction or stop a misconception and provide an accommodation on the spot. And the best part is, unlike that picture we looked at earlier, where you could kind of look around the room and visually spot some students who looked like they were doing something different, when you're using things with Cami, all the students can have access to the same tool. They're all using Cami, but they might be using it very differently from the person sitting next to them. And it helps any student get help. So it's easy for you, it's great for them, and there's no stigma of, I'm the one with the teacher sitting next to me reading out loud, or I'm the one that has to get up and go out of the room to go get special help, or I'm the one that has to have this physical thing that nobody else in the room has. As students look around and as visitors look around in your classroom, they'll just see students learning, not students singled out. So let me show you how you do that. When you are on absolutely any learning document in Cami, there are all kinds of things that you have access to. So let me come back up here on our activity earlier, and let me just start right here. When it comes to accessibility, when you hear that word, what do you think? Well, let's talk about read aloud. Read aloud is probably one of our most popular accommodation tools. With read aloud, if you just click play, it'll read top to bottom, left to right, just like you're reading a book in English. But it also picks up if there's any alternate text on the page, it'll pick that up too. So sometimes things sound really goofy because it's reading things that you didn't even know were there in the background. The way I like to use it is to click and highlight what I wanted to read. Now, for me, when I click this, Google Meet is going to figure out that it's reading, but when I go to change the settings, it's going to filter it out as background noise. So you may or may not hear this next part. Now, if you couldn't hear that, my apologies. That's a limitation of how I've shared my screen with you today. But you can try this on your own screen. Highlight some words on that activity, whether it's something that somebody wrote, something that was already on the page. And when you listen to the voices, you can pause, rewind, start, stop, wherever you like or need to. And you can even change the voice, the speed, or the pitch. Now, if it's something that was already on the page, you're going to click and drag to highlight. If it's something that somebody added in a text box, simply hover over the text box. And since I've turned read aloud on for you, you'll see that option. Just click the option to have that text box read aloud. Now with the read aloud, when you go to change the voices, if you are playing with this, you'll click into settings. And this is a brand new update. So if your menu looks just a little bit different than mine, know that this is being rolled out. It rolls out across the country, and I have no idea or way to know when it starts or where it starts. So you may or may not have this already today. I just got it this morning, so maybe we got it first. I'm not sure. But you'll see, if you don't see this, you'll see something similar, or you'll see this very soon. The list of menus where you can get these natural sounding voices. So no more robot readers over here. The voices you had used to depend on the type of device that you were accessing it from. Coming soon, or not anymore, everybody's going to have access to the same natural sounding voices with the power of AI and the cloud. Yay, technology. Other tools that are in here. Let's talk voice and choice. For some folks, typing or handwriting responses, no big deal. You're in class, you got to write an essay, cool, pass me my paper and pen and let's go. For others, whether it's something with a physical limitation, or you've got something like dysgraphia, or it's really just hard for you because when you put the pencil in your hand, you've got writer's block. But if you could just talk your thoughts out and think it through, you'd be fine. Kami's a really great platform for multimodal learning. For those kiddos, I suggest using something like the comment tool. With the comment tool, you can do text, voice, video, or even screen capture. Now, this is great to provide students options for how they respond, but it also works for you guys. So if you needed to make, say, I'm going to screen capture how we're going to perform this science experiment, or how to solve this math problem, or let me show you how to annotate this document, and we're going to mark up this text and look for different things. These are great tools for that. I'll add a quick video comment. Now with this, I'm going to click and drop a dot somewhere on the page. It's recording using my front-facing camera. I can see what's being recorded here. And this little black box over here, that's the actual space. This is the placeholder where it's going to live. So I could be filming away. I could be demonstrating something. I could be showing live examples. I could be acting something out. I have up to 20 minutes per video or screen capture to record. And when I'm done, just click done. That is instantly embedded on the document for your learners. If you're collaborative, it's going there as soon as you've clicked done. If it's something you're assigning out to students, when you assign this document out, that will already be there for them. And you can also generate closed captions on it in English with the click of a button. Now, the other options here, voice comments. You get up to 5 minutes per voice comment. So great way to dialogue things out, leave feedback, do peer feedback. You can use it for all sorts of things. Great for those auditory learners. Text comments is another place that you can use voice typing. So you saw me do it earlier. I didn't explain how though. So with that, when you click to drop the text comment, I could have started typing, but instead I just clicked the microphone. Now, this voice typing option works the same way as voice typing does in the text box. I'm down to page 3 where it's not as crowded. For voice typing, when you click and drop your cursor on the page, voice typing options appear in 2 different places. One is in the rich text editor that pops up. It's all the way at the end on the right. And as you saw earlier, if you've used feature control to turn voice typing off, then this icon isn't there. But as long as voice typing is turned on, you'll see the microphone. It also appears, if you're just hovering over your text box, you get an extra action bar that pops up. It's right in the middle. Now, again, these are customizable if you need to speak in a different language, if you've got multilingual learners, or you speak a different language natively and you'd like to change that, that's in your settings. But if you're ready to speak in English, simply click the button, and now you can type with no hands. Click it again to turn it off. It'll record you talking. If you are using it, say, on the big interactive board and you guys are having a class discussion, you could click the microphone and it will record what people are saying as long as they're speaking loud enough for your device to recognize the sound. You can go next to a student, have it take dictation. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to use this. Or, you know, just as a learner yourself. If it's faster for you to talk it out than it is to type, whether this is you or your students, show them how to voice type. Now, inside both this presentation and the document that you have, I have listed some of the top accommodations with Kami. So different ideas for how to use these different tools. All sorts of things are in here. So if you're looking for a way to provide an accommodation for your students, whether it's just an accommodation in general, they've got a specific learning need, an attention need, a functional need, or they're multilingual, there's tons of ideas in here for you. Now, spoiler alert, these are farther down the bottom of your page, so you don't have to worry, not that far. You don't have to worry about losing them. Okay, so they're right on the document I've already given you that we were writing on and drawing on, and just farther down. But now, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about how your students get this. What do they do with it? Well, first, when you're assigning it out, don't forget to set your feature control unless you want them to have absolutely access to everything. If you don't use feature control, the default is they get access to all the tools and features. Now, there's one more tool and feature that I didn't show you already, and that's the Understand menu. The Understand menu is full of some really great things. But let's talk specifically for a second about these bottom two tools, Read-Level and Adjust. These two tools do the same thing, but Read-Level is the tool for you as a teacher. Adjust is the one your students will see. You have both. Your students will not. Here's why. When you use Read-Level, what that does is it takes text and it changes the complexity. So let me grab, let's say, nope, this one. Maybe we are reading out of our science textbook today. Our science textbook has some really, really big vocabulary words in it. And I need, let's zoom this in so you can actually read that. I need to change the level of this for my learners. I'm going to grab the Read-Level tool. I've got something called toggle area selection on. If that box is gray, then this tool works just like Read-Aloud, where you click and drag to highlight text. If that box is purple and you've got toggle area selection turned on, instead of clicking and dragging, you can click and draw a box. So this works with text. It would work with grabbing things like this caption over here. I could have used it down here on my diagram. That's what toggle area selection helps you do. Now, let me see if I can zoom in so we can actually read this. And I will prompt it for that one more time. We'll go a little bit shorter. So what this tool does is it changes based on kind of lexile levels. Now, we don't say lexile levels because that's a trademarked term, but if you're a reading teacher, those are familiar for you probably. It goes all the way from pre-readers up. So you can level text up or down as you might need. Now I'm going to set this, maybe we'll go level 1 because this is an 8th grade textbook. And maybe I've got somebody with a really low reading level that needs some support. I'm going to preserve the content and the ideas, but I've got much easier text to read, shorter sentences, that kind of thing. Now for students, these different levels, who knows what that means? So instead, we've given them the same tool that you can empower them with, but we've called it adjust, and it looks a bit different. With adjust, see if I can grab this while I'm zoomed in here. Again, does the same thing. It's going to change the complexity of the text, but it looks different. With this, instead of that drop-down menu of levels, they've got a plus or minus that they can click, or a slider bar that they can grab and drag. And once you set this, the next time you go use the tool, it'll already be on that. So if they need, you know, say 2 levels lower than what everybody else is reading on, they can still have access to that same content, but in an easier format. And they won't have to keep adjusting the slider bar every time unless they don't like what the output is and they need to make some adjustments. Now, all of the tools in the Understand menu come with the same 3 supports. Anything that its output has come up with can be read aloud. You can copy and paste it, so you could put it right on top of the document and leave that relabeled text there on top. You could copy it and put it somewhere else. Maybe you need to write an email or a Google Doc or something. You can also just create a comment. So you can pin whatever it came up with right here on the side and look back and forth between the 2. Now, let me zoom back out so we can actually get kind of the better idea of what that looks like. So if this one is too hard for me, I can put it over here so I can look back and forth. And if you've got multilingual learners, something else to know is that all of these tools have options to translate into over 100 different languages, which is what this translate tool does. But you can use them in tandem. You can use them together if you need to, or if your students need to, because we're all about making learning documents more accessible for more folks. All right, so the other thing, there we go, now I'm in the right spot. The other thing, class view. You want to make sure you're assigning these things to your students so that you can see them all working in real time. When you're in class view, when you've created a CAMI assignment, that means you have the power to go open that assignment. Let me think what I have with lots of student work on it. Ooh, I think this one. Nope, let's go with some multiplication. I know tons of kids have done this one because it was an exit ticket. When you open class view, instead of the traditional Google Classroom gradebook where I'm looking at, you know, 1 kid at a time, I just click open class view and now I see the whole class. This lets you see everybody as they're working live. So if a kid is doing something on here, you can see it too. And as you can see, I've used this one before to show folks, you can also edit as you go. So there are loads of options. If you realize everybody needed some support, or, ooh, I put something on this page and it's blocking everybody, there's a toggle right here to go edit your assignment. So you can support everyone or use your tools individually and leave them things like comments or feedback directly on their page to support them in the moment when they need it. Those will go just to whatever student you've clicked on, and it goes to them instantaneously. So you can support them or leave that rich feedback in a moment.
Margie, excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
Can you show one more time how you open class view for that assignment? I missed it.
Absolutely. All
Thank
right.
you.
No problem. Thanks for asking. I'm going to go back to my Google Classroom. I click on my assignment. So if you get to it from the stream, just click there. I usually go to classwork because I have it sorted. And then whichever one you were looking at, what were we looking at? We were looking at math. I clicked on the assignment. And then if you've put, there's an option as you're creating the assignment to add mobile links that gives you this little shortcut. You can just click there and it'll open up in class view. I hit review work. And then my button was right here. So as you're looking at those students, or if you were on, say, the instructions, If you click View Instructions, you'll see that button, Open Class View, right here next to the name of your assignment. Now that only works, you only see these buttons if two things have happened. First, when you made the assignment, you have to make it a Kami assignment. So create Kami assignment. And second, you have to have the extension. If you don't have the Kami extension on your device, you actually don't have this Kami assignment button at all. So you want to make sure you've got the extension for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. And guys, like I said, any other questions, just let me know. Now, these are fantastic for when your students are working on the things that you bring in, right? Your district curriculum, the slides that you've been using, a document, a worksheet, or whatever you're already teaching with. But we know classrooms have kind of changed. So what happens, now there's some more stuff in here that you have access to, but what happens when you need to send your students out on the web? Wouldn't it be nice if you could have those same accessibility tools? Have you ever sent a kid to a website and then they can't read the content that's there? We have a solution for that. And it is something that is brand new, and it is something that you guys have access to. It's called Kami Companion. Now, here's the newest and greatest reason you need this extension, and so do your students. Kami Companion is a floating toolbar that works out on the web. It has, I'm going to show you quickly and then I'll show you how to use it, voice typing, predictive text, picture dictionaries, multilingual dictionary we already have in Kami, but this one also has a picture dictionary. It translates into over 100 languages, just like Kami does. It's got the screen masker and the dyslexia ruler. So those same amazing things you know and love in Kami, plus extras, except out on the web. How do you do that? Let me show you. First, let's go to a website. Let's say, since we're running short on time, I'm going to do, how about ReadWorks? We'll go to ReadWorks today. So let's say my students are out here and, oh, just kidding. No one has time to sign in. Let me go, we'll go Newzella or Newzela. I never know how to pronounce that. Let's say today I am trying to do some detective work with my students because we're trying to learn some AI literacy skills, because recently there's a major newspaper that ran a summer reading list and all of the book titles were completely fabricated, just made up by AI. And I really want to teach them some AI literacy skills. So I got this great article. Oh my gosh, nothing is logged in. Sorry, guys. I got this great article. I need them to be able to read it aloud, and I need them to have some of those accessibility features. When you click on the Kami extension icon, when you are out on the web, it's going to bring up two options. Open Kami, regular Kami like you know and love, like we've been exploring for the last about 45, 50 minutes, or show the companion toolbar for websites. When you click Show Companion, it's going to open up the web bar. Now, sometimes this is grayed out. So for example, if I'm on that generic Google home screen, let me go search, you can't get the web bar there because there's nothing to really use it with. So if you see this, that just means the web bar doesn't work on this site. But when you see it purple, you can click on it. Now you can also customize it. So I'm going to go to these three dots. I'm going to go to Settings. I'm going to make it huge. I love it to be in dark mode. There's other things you can customize in here. Now, read aloud voices, just like you can customize in Kami, you can customize them out here. That screen masker in the reading ruler, just like you customize them in Kami, come customize them out here. Once you got everything set, you can grab this toolbar and move it wherever you like. I'm going to leave mine right up at the top of the page. Now, apologies again that I have been talking too long and my password manager has logged me out of all these sites. I'll just use it right here on the title. All sorts of things in here. Read aloud, dictionary, picture dictionary, because, you know, maybe kids today really just don't know what a newspaper is. Translation, Translation, again, works whether you're using explain or summarize. So if you need text and they need to interact with it, you've got all sorts of options here, along with immersive reader. So loads of accessibility tools that you can empower students with right at the tip of their fingers. Now, there's lots to learn. So please know before we go, pardon me while I am lost in all my tabs open here. There we go. You have access to all of these resources that I have shared with you today. And they are all on, was I on the right one? I was on the right one. They are all contained in that document for you. So if you'd like to learn more about Kami Companion, as you go down, there are options for you. If you'd like to learn more or get reminders about how to get this into Google Classroom, that's here. Yeah, Jose.
Can you please try that feature with a website that I posted in the chat?
Sure.
The chat book? I wonder if it will work.
Let's grab it and let's check that out. Ta-da! So let's say I'll grab area select. Maybe I need a quick summary.
Can you change the reading level on that?
Yes. Where is my adjust tool? So it looks like the adjust tool is currently missing from my toolbar. So here's a fun fact. Right now, see how it says beta over here? Because it's summertime, this tool is in an open beta format, so everybody with Kami can test it. But come the school year, only the folks that actually have Kami Companion are going to have access to this, and that's you guys. So right now, this tool is still being developed. So as you might be playing with it, you know, kind of in the next couple of weeks, tools may come and go off this toolbar before the school year starts as our developers are doing things. Looks like they've taken the adjust tool down for something today. Normally it's here. So know that, yes, you can adjust the complexity. It's just missing from my toolbar for whatever reason today. And if you ever have a question about what's going on up here, there is under the 3 dots, the option to go to the Help Center or submit feedback. And this is actually a Google form that goes straight to our engineers while this beta is going on. So if you have questions or things are wonky or you're like, I really needed to do this, you can let them know because we love hearing that feedback.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. All right. So let me hop on back up here. 2 very important things. I'm going to drop your district feedback link into the chat for you. It's also right on page 1 up there on the agenda. And if you got here late or you didn't sign in when we were first checking in, please do make sure that you fill out your district link to sign in so that you can get paid for being here and get credit. Otherwise, I'm leaving you guys with all sorts of resources. Things that you can use instead of having to rewatch an entire recording. You can just get some answers in micro chunks. So let me remember how to use this tool, or let me show this video to my students so that they can see how to use it, so we can get it in, you know, less than 5 minutes. All of the things that are in purple here are hyperlinks. So please feel free to click on any of them and explore. There's also some quick links down here for you, as well as the contact information for your Kami customer manager, Katie, and myself, should you have any questions. So thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you learned a lot and got some great ideas. I hope you're excited about using Kami in your classrooms with your students and empowering them to be successful on their assignments. And again, have a great day. Keep on learning, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Margie.
You are welcome. Thanks, everybody.